Welcome to Africa. Okay, so we're going to begin in South Africa, where Nonhlebo Zuma, the 21-year-old daughter of former South African President Jacob Zuma, is set to marry King Mswati III of Eswatini, who is 56 years old. The people have said that this marriage is based on love. It's not based on political motives, contrary to what a lot of people are saying. This is going to make her the 16th wife of the king. And there was a traditional reed dance ceremony where basically what happens is women and girls perform for the king, and then they now announce their engagement. He picked her as the 16th wife. I just want to add that the king, a couple of wives ago, because this is wife number 16, his ninth wife was actually 17 years old. This union with the ninth wife was only a few days after he passed a law where he said that girls below 18 should not be sexually active. Eswatini's population is only a little over 1 million people, right? Eswatini has a high rate of HIV/AIDS. So perhaps that law was to help reduce that, or, just from a cultural standpoint. And then he said, you know what, you guys, my bad, y'all. I'm going to find myself. And then he decided to find himself in the form of a cow.
That's a cowardly move.
He's a coward. That's why I give a cow.
There have been a lot of claims of human rights abuses. People have talked about his opulent lifestyle while the people of Eswatini suffer. Like, he literally flosses, this man. So there have been many controversies surrounding him, and this particular story, among others, this particular story made international news, with people actually being very confused by the tradition. But I just want to put things in perspective a bit here. I want to start with the cultural context. Recently on my show, The African Story, I talked about the annual reed dance. The annual reed dance is a celebration of Swazi culture. So what happens is young women perform for the king and the public, half naked. But, I can say how this story will be strange to many, but for many in Eswatini, this is a reaffirmation of their tradition. Now, for Nonhlebo to perform in it shows that she has accepted the custom. The king is polygamous. By the way, Jacob Zuma himself is polygamous. So I'm not going to disrespect their culture and tradition, and I will not use my own moral yardstick to judge them.
Yeah.
It may sound absurd to some, but that is their culture. And if the people aren't complaining, I ain't complaining.
I'm a fan of polygamy, so...
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a new one.
I'm a fan of polygamy, so go ahead.
All hail the king.
Okay, but I just want to conclude by touching on the political context. Of course, people are wondering if this is a political move. Whether or not this union is deliberate, there will very likely be closer ties between Eswatini and Mr. Zuma's political ambitions. Yes, politics and tradition do intertwine. The king is very influential in that region. So, hey, it might just be favorable for Jacob Zuma. Who knows? Anyway, I wish everybody the best. If you're happy, I'm happy for you.
Great. So we're still in the business of using women to settle political scores or, build political bridges.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Oh, they say it's based on love.
Well, there is love in politics, so it's fine.
What?
Isn't there love in politics?
Love in politics.
Don't the rich always marry the rich to protect their wealth? It's a form of politics, isn't it? Consolidation, that's what they call it in the wealthy world. It consolidates.
The wealthy world.
Whether you're consolidating power or wealth or ancestry or heritage, it's all political. There's a lot of scheming that goes on. As much as I say that I'm a fan of polygamy, 16 wives is a lot. Giving yourself a fine of a cow breaking the law is coward.
Now, Diego. Look, if there are like 2 million people or thereabouts, or 1 million people, but before this king gets to the age 100, he probably have married half of the country or half of the people. That's the only thing. But
if he hasn't got AIDS yet.
Okay. Now that's another angle too, because AIDS is a no respecter of title. Whoever you are, you need a show for face.
Moving on very quickly. Let's talk about the story of Bobi Wine being attacked by police.
Uganda's main opposition leader has been allegedly shot in the leg by the police. The pop star turned politician Bobi Wine has been seriously injured and will undergo surgery as per his lawyer. His party said that he was shot in the leg on Tuesday as he returned from visiting one of their lawyers in the town of Bulindo. Now, Wine and his entourage were then allegedly surrounded by military and police officers who began firing live bullets and tear gas canisters. His lawyer says that he will undergo surgery to remove suspected fragments from a tear gas canister, which he said appeared to be deliberately targeted to harm him. The police, meanwhile, said that officers had attempted to block Wine and his team from marching down a road, and this resulted in an altercation where Bobi Wine sustained injuries. Police say an investigation would be conducted to clarify the facts.
President Museveni has, constantly attacked Bobi Wine, since he tried to contest or has been contesting to become president. And it's just an irony, because the same Museveni, he came into power, literally via a coup from 86 till now. That's over almost 40 years now he's been there. I mean, I think I saw a video some time ago that he was saying that, nobody should be in power for forever, for so long. Now here he's in power now today. He doesn't want another person to be in power or to have an actual free and fair, credible election, so that somebody like Bobi Wine might even have a chance to contest it favorably or have a level playing ground. It's just how human beings are. You get to a place, the same thing that you preach against is what you begin to do to other people. The same thing that that people did to you, other leaders did to you. You don't want any other person to come out and actually contest with you or challenge you.
I'm a huge fan of Bobi Wine, just as I am of any leader in Africa who is bold enough to speak against a tyrannical government. And he's been a fierce critic of Museveni, like Kabuchi said. And we know Museveni has been in power for nearly 4 decades. I see Wine being representative of a younger generation that's frustrated with Museveni's long-standing hold on power. And him doing that has clearly stifled the democratic process. This is a man who has faced numerous forms of harassment. He's been arrested, he's been restricted politically. And this tear gas canister situation is yet another alarming chapter. It's not an isolated case of violence by any means. It shows the crazy environment, not just in Uganda, but throughout Africa when it comes to opposition.
Look at Tinubu now. Tinubu was protesting 92, 91, 90, 1990, 89, all of that. And that is why I tell people that when these politicians come and they tell you one thing, don't believe them. Politicians are liars. No, they believe them. I'll do this and that for you. You will not question the person. Then when the person enters, you not start pray that the person change their mind and do better. Prayer and not they work like that. And that's why I don't pray for African leaders. I curse them. All this one, when you go to church, some pastors tell you that pray for our leaders. They'll tell you that it's in the Bible. Yes, I know it's in the Bible that when you pray for the leader, the land will be good. Me, I curse them. I don't pray for my leaders. I pray for my friends, people like you watching me.
Do you pray for us?
Of course. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you my leader? The moment you become my leader, I know they pray for you again. I don't pray for our
leaders.
I don't. Why should I? I don't pray for our leaders. I curse them because they know what to do. Not be prayer will change their mind. So when all these pastors and leaders tell you, it's all a way to to control the narrative and keep you calm. Because when people start the revolt and the riot, problem with that knocking your day. So I don't pray for our Nigerian leaders. No, I don't pray for any of them. Not even Peter Obi that I support. I don't pray for. Why should I pray for him? Why should I pray for him?
You just ask yourself that what has changed? Because if you encounter the same person in Nigeria, it's a different.
As long as you're a leader in any country in Africa, forget it. No, there's no. Even the guy in Rwanda that they say is doing well. Why don't you want to leave the? Why don't Kigali? You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So that kind of man I go pray for. I won't pray for him because why? He's instead of become small tyrant, he's become a despot. You know what I'm saying?
Habib, do you pray for your leaders?
I wish them well.
Say wish them well.
I don't wake up in the morning and put any political leader in my prayer. No, I just pray for my family, my friends. Actually, the funniest thing is that every day when I pray for pregnant women who are in labor.
These are the kind of prayers we say.
I pray for those who are seeking the fruit of the womb. And then my family and friends. I don't put any political leader in my prayer. I just wish them well. Because to be honest with you, they don't wish us well. They don't have the interest.
Not all of them.
They don't wish you well. Tell me, which state in Nigeria has an actual portable running water to people's homes? People know if you drink water, clean water, go to Kogi State, all those kind. They never see which state people have to dig their own. I start to pray for these people, and these are doing like that from 1960, not even till now.
Didn't their ex-governor pay his children's tuition fees in advance?
Yes, these are people we want to pray for. People like Bello, Yaga.
People fast for them though. Some people fast for them. Because again, the Bible says you should pray for your leaders. I think the Quran also says,
like I said, it's part of the Bible. But I mean, I also have a choice to, not to do everything the Bible says. It's my right? Shit, I don't have to do that part of the Bible.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't curse them, but if you're not praying for them, just leave them alone.
Just leave them alone.
Their actions have impact on us.
Me, I've given up that their action will ever help me in any way. I've given up on them. You understand? So it is between me and my God now. If I see chop, I see chop. If I don't see chop, I say, God, I beg, help me.
Have you forgotten the Nigerian dream, Kabuchi? If it be you,
Nigerian dream, Hakim Olajuwon.
If it be you,
okay, that's Nigerian. If it be you,
if it be you,
mentality.
That's the only reason why every Nigerian is hopeful, because if it be you,
that's Nigerian. If it be you, there's no structure, no plan. Just if it be you,
yes, everybody's just holding on to the last string of hope.
You.
And that string, the cut. Even make you one guy like this. If you look see more, if it be me,
anytime.
You hear one story of one person that just ran into somebody and his life changed, and all of a sudden 99% are hoping based on that story.
But then again, how does that help you and I that are not close to him?
The Nigerian president is more powerful, and I'm not talking about militarily, than the American president. If you encounter Joe Biden or even Donald Trump, as reckless as he was, he cannot constantly or immediately enrich you. They would have to do a lot of, layering before they can even use you as a proxy or crony. A Nigerian president can make you a billionaire by the next morning. There's nowhere else in the world where people have so much powers. He can just tell you, go to the central bank and do this, and they will just give you one contract with a FX swap, something with a mad margin, and they'll just give you maybe $10 million or thing, and then the next day you are swimming in billions.
If you just supply this wrist bracelet now, they just.
That's why
$200 for one.
That's why once a Nigerian president, somebody becomes a president in Nigeria, everybody starts dressing like him. Everybody starts. We want to wear senator. We want to wear. They start wearing cap. Everybody's carrying an Infinity logo. It's because your life can change, and if it change mentality, is the reason why people will see things. You will see evil flying like this, but because you feel that you can be a beneficiary of the madness, the largesse, as Gloria has called it, then you keep quiet. Tinubu is a spender. And let me tell you something. No, I'm not a fan of his person but political sagacity, you cannot take it away from that guy. There's a guy in the north that is now an emir, and then they were asking him if he was going to submit to Tinubu. He said Tinubu sent him to Mecca when he was a district head. I'm just trying to tell you how he has been investing. And that's why in Nigeria today, even before he became president, when you go to certain quarters, if you mention Tinubu, people are ready to wound, they're ready to maim, they're ready to do anything for him because he's a giver. Alpha Beta has continuously provided an endless source to money. So it's like every day Lagos State makes money, he's getting money, and he's been the only governor that has been able to, put such a system in place that perpetuates his access to free money, because government money is free money. It's free money. Imagine somebody collecting 10% out of what the IRS gets in America. That's the same thing they're doing in Lagos. It's free money. I know how much are the IRS.
It has become legalized literally.
Yes. Every other state is trying to do it, but they don't have the base for that kind of IGR.
If they come out again 10, the state go 4. The state never to get blood.
They are trying, and that's why they end up doing things like, let's guarantee gratuity, guarantee pension. And we still have to come to the argument of somebody coming to serve the state for 4 years, and what he gets after leaving exceeds what somebody who has been a professor for the last 30 years is getting, and we are okay with it. The only reason why we are not talking is because if it be me. That's it. There are Nigerians today, like you and I, who are equally angry, aggrieved, oppressed, that would, on a platter of 1 or 2 promises, hand over David to the security operatives if they know where he is. Because everybody is because everybody wakes up every day.
Think it's a VBU.
with the hope that I am just one contract, one contact, one meeting, one package away from breakthrough.
That mindset, man.
A lot of people come out, pretend to be activists because they want the platform, you know. And I'm not saying this to denigrate any actress, but it's just like people that say many actresses come and use a couple of films to put themselves on the spotlight because they're trying to get married to certain people. That is a lot of Nigerians. That is why when you are in any kind of quorum or space with Nigerians and you are clamoring for something that will be beneficial to everybody in that group, you need to be careful because you will become the sacrificial lamb and nothing will happen. Nothing will happen to you because that man is saying to himself that if it be me,
now what do you talk to?
At the end of the day, how many of the people who stood strongly behind Peter Obi are still standing behind him now without following the wind of power? It's Nigeria. It is who we are. We are always, I don't know whether it's an effect of repressive. We're always just waiting for it. We don't even see it. It doesn't even have to go into governance. Just look at it. Let me tell you one instance. In 2008, I was coming back from the UK. At the airport, they delayed us, and I'd already read that after a certain number of hours, you are entitled to some sort of compensation. I was the one. I was shouting, "No hell way!" It was Virgin Nigeria. You need to change our plane. Next thing, I started noticing that the crowd was reducing. Do you know I was the last person to know that they were already collecting vouchers? To go and buy chocolates
you did a shot. So
I was the last person. In short, I didn't make me collect the voucher set because then give me. I was the only one. Like, oh no, give us another plane. So when certain things are happening, you know, where are the voices that were clamoring during Jonathan's campaign? Where are the voices pro Buhari? Now everybody's just trying to put themselves on the platform so that they have access to this national cake. Now, those that genuinely love Nigeria, they're not 5%. Those poor people that you're talking about, they are all just waiting for them. And I'm sorry to say, I was a politician. People tell you on the streets on election day that another 4 years. So what are we talking about?
Gloria, a believer in Christ. So if you went to church, or maybe your personal corner, the pastor said, let us pray for Nigerian, and they call Atiku, Tinubu, and all these people, and Buhari, and P2P, and all these guys. Let's pray for them. You will stay in that church and actually clap to Kabash for real. No.
And I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, but that's just my own personal belief. Okay. You know, this is the thing. I don't wake up just like, I got to pray for you.
But what would you be praying? Is that you pray for God to change their heart?
For them to make the right decisions that will favor the people. It's in the interest of people I would pray. I'm just saying, I wouldn't not pray. I would pray.
It's like us begging them to do their job. What I would pray for rather is that we have laws, that we have actually men in position that will actually enforce these laws to punish them. Let me tell you something. Countries like America, Australia, UK, and all these places, they don't pray that the leaders do the right for the people. They have structures put in place to punish the leaders when you do the wrong thing. That's some people need to even die for Africa to rise. Why should I pray for to do me right? You say you want to lead. Now people have voted you in. Oh, yeah, do the thing what you say go do now.
Even if you were doing the right thing, I would pray for you. Right?
I'm not going to pray for you. Do your job. I'm not praying for you.
Okay, so I don't know about your own prayer bank, but my own prayer bank is sufficient. And
no, you're on food. No worry, we follow day. You're on food. You're on a transformer. We follow day. But then my transformer, I the whole of me and my family. The moment he comes to me and say he wants to be the president of my country with all the wealth and all the assets that he has control over, why should I still pray for him? He should. I mean, you should have a team that know what they're doing because you say you can do the job. If you can't do the job, leave the kitchen, leave the place. Why should I pray for you? Prayer is like me begging you.
I share your sentiments, Kabuchi.
And I respect.
Any church that said, I will walk out of the church, I will sit down. It's my right. I can only pray for, okay, let there be peace in the world. Yes, I can pray for that. Let there be peace in Nigeria. No more fighting. Boko Haram, please leave us. Yes, I can pray. But you see, the moment you have been put in place of position of power and authority, you have been given everything to function. Now, function. Go ye and explore and function, my Lord.
I guess you all saw the video of the Russian showing how they were moving gold from Zamfara, and then the guy had it on Instagram, and he even has police escorts. It is well for Nigeria.
Go. Lakers. She's in this. Leave by low. She's spraying.
I'm just saying I have no problem with it. Okay, But I respect your view, and I understand why you say what you say.
I hate to say to you, sis, I know that as a person, I know you personally, I've known you for years. I know that you will go into that system and you will not break, but that system will break you. And when that system was not designed to succeed,
not to,
and when it gets to a point, you will either resign or you cave into that system. And people who are strongly held by different kind of value system, they decide to make a difference and they try to leave. In many cases, they get swallowed. I mean, Professor Nika Grange, you remember that lady who was minister for health? They, again, like I keep asking you, when you look at all of the things that Dora Akunyili did with NAFDAC and the way NAFDAC is today, don't you ask yourself, what's the point? What's the point? Look at Okojo, where having a father kidnapped. The system, let me tell you, a bad system will mess up a good person anywhere in the world. It may be an opinion, but I can back it up. And I will tell you that system is not going to work for a very long time until there is a collective conscious reorientation and an adoption of national values, with the primary essence being fairness, consequences for actions, enforcement and compliance. All of these things that we are doing is all lies. I feel sometimes, and I'm not calling for any kind of military action or something. Sometimes I feel like we need somebody who's genuinely interested in Nigeria, but autocratic.
A benevolent dictator?
Yes.
Is that what Paul Kagame is to Rwanda?
That's exactly what he is. But considering the fact that he came all the way from being a warlord to come and it happens all over Africa. Jerry Rawlings did it in Ghana. And that's why when people were saying P2B, I'm not saying P2B cannot come into that position with a lot of ideas. He has to run them by those 469 people who will never pass anything in the interest of the country without their pockets aligned. The way people look at politics in Nigeria as leaders and followers is terrible. You see all this church thing that you're talking about and all these small things. It's poverty that drives all those things. When people go to work and they have purchasing power, a lot of this BS, it dies naturally. It comes back to people not having money. Nigerians function outside Nigeria. So the problem is not Nigerians. And though Nigeria is not a person, it is a name for a society of people who collectively agree to be unruly as long as they are there. And then once they enter into an aeroplane, the madness fizzles out. And then they become normal people. Have you tried to understand why?
But you see, these people messed up my mind so much that, growing up, right, I used to pray. When I was like 14, 15, I would pray, God, many people bring like God. This should be prayer in my head. And they talk no, so now that I'm older, I'm older, way older. And I'm like, then I was like 14, 13, I was just teenager. What? I could pray many. This was the exact line. God, many people bring like God, many. Me and my sister, not be joke.
I went out with my daughter one day, and the gas light came up, and I was like, as a mechanic now, I was like, oh, gas light, I still have a reserve. This girl started having panic attack because I was driving past gas stations, and I was like, you know what? I was using an app on my phone to look for where gas was the cheapest, and then as soon as I was going onto the highway, because the gas station was like a mile and a half, she was shaking visibly in the car. She was like, Daddy, what if the car goes up in the middle of the road? Then I looked and I said, Kilo shit. What if
you go push motor?
What if he was? So I said, my daddy said, Daddy, that's. Then I really looked at myself and I realized that what I was considering as street credibility is actually trauma.
People that run NEPA, they are human beings sitting somewhere, just switch off the light or whatever.
With generator. You go into a NEPA office, they are running on jet. What do you have?
Like, how could you pray NEPA? Like, okay, so am I praying for a transformer not to blow? Or like, who am I? Like, at the spirit? You just think this thing. Just think this don't mess up my. I can't say no. Now, cost they cost them. All those NEPA managers. Now, go better for us. Now, they properly cut off that light. Una will chop the money, embezzle them, the ministries, the permanent secretaries, the PS, all those people.
I've been a fierce critic of the government. For me, maybe it's just me preserving that side of my innocence.
Mental state.
It sounds gullible or naive, but I choose to believe that with great leaders, things will be turned around. And we do have the potential for it. There are great leaders among us, and they will work. Let's talk about the Forum for China-Africa Cooperation. Yeah. Dozens of African leaders met in Beijing, where Chinese president and Kabuchi's favorite guy, Xi Jinping, pledged billions in loans and investments to strengthen ties with Africa. Xi proposed elevating relations with African countries to a strategic level and outlined new areas of cooperation, including leadership training and military aid. China, which has heavily invested in Africa since 2000, is positioning itself as a leader of the global South, resonating with African nations frustrated by Western dominance. While China's development loans to Africa have decreased, many countries are still seeking funding for key infrastructure projects, despite debt challenges.
I'm trying not to be offended, but I am.
Okay.
So you have Indo-Africa Summit held in India. Euro-Africa Summit held in Europe.
2.
Afro-China Summit held in China.
3.
What about why aren't these summits?
Hold on. There's more. There's Italy, Africa, 4. There is even Saudi Arabia, Africa, 5.
Why are we always having these summits in these countries? Again, I said it during one of our last episodes. Cap in hand, we go into situations where we have the power, but we don't have the knowledge to back it. We go in there because of aid. We don't think of trade. We go in there with an entourage that is interested more in Ester code than resource discussions. So every time everybody is hosting Africa, and then 54 supposedly intelligent people with at least 30 people additional will now fly from their country to go and sit down in a country led by one person that is equally dependent on a lot of resources from Africa to come and talk about how they are going to lend us money to develop our countries, while they are taking away the gold, they are taking away the copper, they are taking away the tungsten, they are taking away the cobalt. Everybody knows about the electric vehicle industry, how it is highly dependent on cobalt. Look at Congo. Why is Africa this unlucky with leadership? And sadly, by extension, followership, because you can become a leader as a follower in Nigeria by chance.
So we're a product of, our leaders are just a product of us, the citizens.
Absolutely. Okay. But what is the problem?
That question we ask a big question. It's a rhetorical question. Even ChatGPT don't have answer. Some people say spiritual. Some people say it's from the colonial masters. Some people say it's the way this whole system was set up. Africa was never, set up to function. Here and there, they might be right. Some of them might be wrong. However, the truth of the matter is this, right? Africa is the only continent on earth, that everybody, every other country, every other leader, every other president anywhere in the world has plans for. But Africa does not plan for itself. Hello, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Continent does not. Africa is like the goats, not the greatest of all time, but the most stupid goats, because everybody has a plan for a good, well-grown male goat. As someone copy. But the goat no get plan for himself. He dey chop the grass. You see so? So Africa is like that goat who don't mature, don't get hair. Where some people will cut the leg come out. You have to do pepper soup, come back again, cut the chop and small more. They go chop and finish one day. But you see, the thing is this, right? It's crazy that this leader, okay, fine. It's annoying that they have to fly all the way, take their resources and pay money and go in private jets and whatever, go to these countries to do this summit, to talk about Africa. It's almost insane. You're going to talk about your continent in a different country. Why don't these people come here and talk about it? But it's even that one is even crazy. That's crazy enough. But then again, when they go over to those countries and they see the way those countries are and the way those leaders are, why don't they come back and let's even say, okay, fine, we've been also the way these guys behave and all of them. Why don't they come back and even try to act or maybe even implement laws like those guys are implementing in their own country? So
you want to go to China and come back to implement death penalty for corrupt officials? Is that what you're asking?
Come on. What? Listen,
Pray
death
for
penalty
your leaders.
You said?
Pray for your leaders. It's not going to work.
You want to make me verse again, Abi? Bless this life with you. Bless this life with you.
You want Nigerian politicians to go to China and see the legislation that gives death penalty to people who are corrupt, and you want them to come to
we know they will never do it now, but if they do it,
Akpabio will hold the gavel and say, boom, that's into law.
Brother, you dream.
Akpabio, you're very funny.
But that's the thing. They will never pass those kind of laws. But then again, they will pass law. That young boy will get dreadlock. Where they sack in Shokoto, Naji boy. If you say the boy na tech guy, you see those kind of things. Or they don't pass law, but they will implement them for street. You understand? So these laws are meant to, to withhold and to punish the people, not to help them in any way. Meanwhile, they themselves, they are looting and drying up the treasury every single day. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So leave them.
Why do you think Africa is the most courted bride on earth?
Okay.
Yes. She goes to bed every night, not even thinking about herself. Why?
That sounded like the Eswatini Reed dance. Anyway, I'm sorry, Eswatini. I didn't mean to do that. This guy is making me do bad things. Okay, so here's my analysis on this whole forum situation. We're talking about the trips by African leaders to China. Of course, that shows that we're so dependent on financing outside the continent because, you have to think about the geopolitical power dynamics, right? And we clearly cannot deny that China has financial power. It's become the largest investor in African infrastructure. It's offered billions of loans and investments. And what makes it more attractive is that it has fewer conditions. So if you're talking about like human rights and economic reforms requests, which we know the West is very big on, you guys must allow homosexuality, etc., etc. And that's just an example. So some African leaders find that more favorable, right? So China seems easier to work with in that way, right? Because China does not interfere in domestic governance as much. They do it, but it's more low-key. Now, many African, and I'll give an example in just a bit with Eswatini. Many African countries see China as an indispensable partner. And because of that, they look at situations where, say, projects that would have been underfunded, such as through the IMF or the World Bank, they see China as a bigger alternative, right? In many cases, African governments feel they have no other option but to seek China's backing, especially given the scale of projects China is willing to finance, from things like railways to roads to energy sectors. And while China does seem like the easier option, going to China comes with risks. We have talked about this on this show. We talked about it during the last episode. We have seen rising debt burdens and how African countries are still struggling to manage them. So it might seem like a favor to Africa, but it's skewed heavily in China's favor. There is a clear trade imbalance. Africa exports raw materials to China, which powers Chinese industries, while importing higher value manufactured goods. So Africa has become a resource provider, but it's not advancing its own industrialization goals. But beyond the economic side, right? China is positioning itself, this geopolitics. China is positioning itself as a leader of the global South. And I talked about Eswatini, right? Now, China, because Eswatini did not go for the forum. So China, and here's why, Eswatini has a partnership with Taiwan. They're trying to lure Eswatini away from Taiwan so that they can have a partnership with China. This is what I'm saying. So it's all about global geopolitics. It's all about gaining more power over the West and having more allies. And I'm okay with a multipolar system, but being multipolar means that there is fairness. China is not fair. But our leaders aren't seeing their power. You people think China is there for a charity case. No, it is business that favors China way more than it favors African countries. And while many African leaders feel compelled to go to China, it's important to question why China isn't the one coming to Africa, like you're saying. Given Africa's vast resources and strategic value, the power dynamics is so tilted because China holds the capital. China has the technological expertise that African nations need. And Africa then chooses to negotiate from a weaker position because we don't have a stable economy and we're not united. That's the truth. We need to focus more on regional alliances and leverage our resources and our strategic position more. Because I've used the illustration of the bride, the bed or whatever. We need to attract multiple suitors There should be competition. Global powers should be fighting for Africa.
You know how they used to beat themselves in the olden days in the East, where people that want to marry the king's daughter will come and win. That's how Africa should be negotiating with other parts of the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I keep asking myself one question. You know, I used to be in the auto industry, and you know, in manufacturing cylinder heads and engines, they use silica sand, right? And they will tell you that the kind of sand that they use can only be gotten in Australia. This is a form of trade protection. You cannot tell me that sand is exclusive to Australia only. Where else have you gone to find that kind of sand? Oluwa Glass in Ondo State, they have sand there that they use that can be used to produce solar panels. I'm just trying to tell you how the West protects certain industries so that their economies can blossom. Many of the monies that have been used to develop Switzerland are funds stolen from Nigeria, held on. You will steal $500 million. You will put it in a Swiss bank. That money will be with Switzerland for almost 22 years. Then they will now return, they will now return that $500 million to you after 22 years and say, oh, Abacha has continued to give us money from his grave. That $500 million will come to Nigeria. The Ministry of Justice, they will first of all siphon 200 and 300 and something million out. The rail line, Swills apps, all of those things that you see, they are being funded by funds that have been moved from Nigeria. I keep asking people one thing. All the people that have stolen Nigeria blind, why do they keep their money outside Nigeria? Because they don't believe in this. Then we go to China. China knows what they are doing. I told you must negotiate with them like a demon. Africans are the only ones who collect loan and they steal the loan. It's a debt. It's a debt.
I'm on a punchline with that too.
It's a debt. You understand? Even like Peking where if Papa he won't go school. He won't go asking Papa for money. If Papa keep money for the site, say okay, when my son comes tomorrow to ask for school fees, I'll give him this money. Peking go steal that money. The next morning when they come to Papa don't see the money where he won't give up. What are you going to do? It's the truth. So you can't blame China, Gloria. You cannot blame China. I don't know if you guys heard about the server that they gave the AU in Addis Ababa. China gifted the African Union a server in a young, very sharp IT guy just realized that there was a lot of traffic overnight. Turns out that every night, China, they upload all the files for the African Union. They send them to another server in China. Do you know the information they have? Do you know the data they have? You know, when you think about the crop of African leaders that you have today, then you start asking yourself, you look at people like Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and all those people, and you think about what has happened.
Sankara.
What has happened to
Gaddafi? This is a matter of national emergency. I'm saying it on national TV. If you're watching me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Aham Bukabuchi, Umu Okorobia, Indimpo Michaels, please, Xi Jinping, I did not partake from the loans. I and my families. By the time you start flogging people with cane, Xi Jinping of China, look at my face. Let's about translate. I did not partake. You don't know touch my mouth. I better go. That's all I can say. I don't know if una this, I know chop inside though. You don't know in my hand. That's all I can say.
So let's go to sports. Rebecca Cheptegei, a Ugandan marathon runner who competed in the Paris Olympics last month, tragically passed away after being burned by her boyfriend. Cheptegei, who resided in Kenya, had been in critical condition with burns covering 75% of her body following the attack at her home in Kenya. You know, the continent with the highest rate of domestic violence is Africa. So this is very heartbreaking. In Kenya alone, in the last 3 years, they've had 3 female athletes being killed. Rate of domestic violence, the ones that we even see, the ones that are reported. Somebody even talked about how Cheptegei ran out and ran towards her as she was burning, right? To show you that we don't even know what had been going on behind the scenes the whole time. So imagine the ones that are not reported. Is usually, unfortunately, when it gets so bad, then people see it. So imagine the ones that are happening undercover. It's everywhere globally. But unfortunately, because of our, you have the spiritual side of things, you have the cultural side of things, Africa faces unique challenges that make it worse. And it just makes it tougher to have a handle on. But one thing I am happy about is the fact that this was all over the news. Everybody was talking about it. E-News talked about it. Breakfast Club talked about it. In fact, she got honored at the Paralympics. So people can take notes. Whatever you think you're doing privately, the world will see it. There has to be accountability. My heart goes out to her family, to her friends, whoever has been or is a victim of domestic violence, be it publicly, be it privately. Please speak up, get help. Somebody feels they have to physically attack you. You don't deserve that. And nothing you ever did or said will ever justify that. That is criminal. And as a continent, we should stand up more for it. You see how the world is making a big deal out of it. It is because it is a big deal. We should do better as a continent. Don't stay in an abusive marriage or abusive situation because you think you don't have a choice or that you think they will come around. If somebody starts giving you the red flag, run for your life. Please get safe. I wish you well.
There are many partners who will tell you that, or rather, from many cases that we've heard, you find many partners say, whatever it is that you said or did deserves a slap or a hit, and it comes from a sense of whether it's ownership or superiority or whatever it is, or for me, I think it's just absolute lack of control and lack of respect for yourself. Because my former branch manager, Yatum, will say, if you call somebody a goat, be ready to be called a dog, because if you also value yourself, that everybody has the tendency to retaliate. So if you take your hands and you slap your partner and anything goes down from there, you brought it upon yourself, so you need to protect your sanity, your safety and everything. People should keep their hands in their pockets. So there should be consequences. Yes, there should be consequences for this guy's action. Because again, whatever it is that anybody may have done, it is extreme for you to set somebody ablaze. It is jungle justice when it is even done to those that have committed crimes, let alone a partner. What is the issue? Is it jealousy? Is it what is it? What is responsible?
Overland.
Your hands in your freaking pockets. If you're having an argument and it's getting out of hand, take a freaking walk out of the house. The moment you hit somebody, anything can happen after that. And you cannot. We've seen many cases where, the victim becomes more powerful than the abuser and beat the shit out of them. So you have to always...
Tina Turner?
Yeah, you got to do it. You cannot say, oh, what you said deserves a slap. What the hell are you to say that? You got to protect yourself. Unfortunately, a life has been lost. It has gathered a lot of global attention and all that, but that woman is gone, and she's gone. She's gone. Yeah. You always have to see us. Capitorius is out. The lady's dead and gone. You need to always protect yourself. And like I said the moment there's some level of domestic violence inside, it doesn't matter the number of family members that call you to a gathering. It doesn't matter. Pack your bag and go. Mm-hmm. This happens a lot. This happens more to women than men. Men tend to do this a lot to women. However, there are also cases where this happens to men. And then you say pride. What pride? You will die. You will be in a casket.
I'm glad you're mentioning that men also get affected.
Yes, to put you in a casket. And let me tell you the most painful thing about sudden death. They say all of a sudden you become a gem, like we lost a gem. No, don't lose no freaking gem. Take your bag and walk away. If that environment is too hard for you, go and seek the kind of peace you want. Anybody that raises their hands to hit their partner can kill that person. I'm just telling you that. Because one knock in the wrong spot and you're 6 feet under the ground. So put your hands in your freaking pocket. If you cannot, buy a handcuff, tie yourself or zip tie yourself and keep it walking, keep it moving.
And I'll share why I'm personally triggered. I don't need for a loved one to have experienced it for me to be triggered. I will share 2 examples very quickly. My guardian when I was in high school, Mrs. Akpata, was killed by her husband. He beat her to death. Years after I graduated high school, she was beaten to death. That was my guardian. That was like my auntie. He killed her. And then in America, one of my best friends, T.K. Clark, was literally shot to death in a murder-suicide situation. It was all over the news in Alabama. One of my best friends got killed. She had a 2-year-old by him. He came into the house, took a gun. I don't know what the situation was. He shot at her and she died. He went upstairs and shot himself to death. Domestic violence is real. Yeah, and I'm citing those 2 examples. It affects everyone, and I'm not taking away from the rest of the globe, but I'm particularly concerned about my continent because we don't want to talk about it. Like Habib said, some people even see it as a thing of shame, say if it's happening to a man. So we need to start calling it for what it is, and it sucks that it has to do with somebody being burned.
When you raise children in such an environment, they become domestic abusers.
Or being a victim.
Or being a victim too, depending on how they respond to that.
As we wrap up, let's just touch on other low notes throughout Africa. The floods in West Africa, very, very tragic. We've had almost 1 million people displaced from their homes, and at least 460 people have been killed in 3 countries. The countries that are affected, specifically Mali, Nigeria, and Niger. So please keep West Africa in your thoughts. And Kenya, there was a school fire recently. Very sad. As of this recording, we had as many as 17 students killed at an elementary school fire. And I guess this is supposed to be like a high note. There was a second fire in Kenya. I know. How did that happen? At a girls' school, there was a second fire. But thankfully, that was contained, even though unfortunately there were 3 injuries. I'm just trying to look at the silver lining here. But at least they were able to contain it. Kenya, come on, let's get it together. We can't keep having these fires. And still speaking of high notes, Dangote Refinery is set to sell fuel. Yay. Habib, are you excited?
And shout out to our Paralympians who have continued to do the country proud at the current Paralympics going on. I saw a video of one of our weightlifters, setting a record 150 kg. Congratulations to all Paralympians. Overcome your whatever disabilities that you're encountering and participate, much to the excitement of everybody in your respective countries. So well done to everybody who was at the Paralympics.
Representing Africa. Yes, and that brings us to the end of Tribe Africa. Don't forget to follow us on at the Tribe Africa.